Hi friends! I have something just a little fun and cool to look at. So I mentioned in my last video that I'm taking Camille Elias's Lenormand class and having a lot of fun taking it. And in her class she really suggests as the deck that we use Ryan Edwards Maybe Lenormand, which I've been a big fan of for a while despite my many misgivings and difficulties with the system. But I have always really liked the art in this deck. I like the style, and it does something really interesting, which is that it has a full set of 52 cards. And you know, obviously that's why it's called the Maybe Lenormand, because it's not, you know, it's not a traditional Lenormand in the sense that you have the additional cards, but you don't have to use them. And in class, for the most part, I've been not using the additional cards, although I like them a lot and probably at some point will. I've just been trying to focus on limiting the language, because one of my struggles really has been sort of the for a long time for me the reduced the reduced amount of information. You know, with Sibylla I have 52 cards. I seem to roll pretty easily with that. But with Lenormand, I felt like maybe I didn't have enough language to work with. So, so this is a really cool deck for that reason. I'm sure you've seen this before, but this is US Games at its best. This great magnetic box, a really nice book, and then the cards in here. And I found that, though they're not broken up that way now, you know, you can fit the normal Lenormand pack here and then the additional cards there. But I really like them. There's a lot of videos on this deck. He has a handmade version, which I lust for, but because, you know, it's handmade, it's pricey, so I haven't given into it yet, in part because of my struggles, but maybe as a gift to myself, if when I finish her course, I'll if there's any left, pull the trigger on that. But anyway, one of the things that I know about this deck, because he's mentioned it on his website and I've heard people talk about it, is that he really was inspired both by Lenormand but also by these two decks. And then there's this deck, which is Robert M. Place's Hermes playing cards, which is sort of a sister deck to this. It's very similar and uses very similar associations, both influenced by these two. Now, this is pretty famous, and it's pretty universally unpopular for justifiable reasons. You know, I mean, I feel like in this day and age, we I think pretty roundly know that the word gypsy is considered a slur by people of Romany descent. So it's probably worth retiring anything, you know, in print. We could find a better way to do it. And actually, you know, I'm always... I'm never sure whether to talk about this stuff, but I think one of the reasons why there's a bias against fortune telling, there's a couple of reasons why there's a bias against fortune telling in tarot communities. One, of course, is that the esotericists really disdained anything that smacked of fortune telling. You know, even Eden Gray was pretty big on differentiating between divination and fortune telling. So that's one reason why, but I think another reason why there's bias against it is because of the association of it with, quote, gypsies, with Romany folks, and the stereotypes that have really done a lot of damage to that group over the years. And, you know, you can just do a quick Google search and see how that's still playing out across the land. So bias is part of the equation, and I think one of the things that happens is the stereotype of, like, the gypsy witch isn't just about fortune telling, it's also about fraud. And when we think of fortune tellers, we think of fraud, and I think it's all a byproduct of bias. I also think that it's not just ethnic bias at play, it's also sex bias, because when you think of the gypsy witch, you think of a woman, you think of an older woman, oftentimes you'll think of a woman who is not white. There's a lot of layers of bias inherent in the bias against the idea of fortune telling, and it's you know, apparently more lofty pursuit of divination. Now, I think whether or not you view yourself as a fortune teller, I don't like labels anyway, so I don't really call myself anything. But I do think that it's worth looking at. You know, I have 3 decks in front of me. All of them use Gypsy Fortune cards. One of my favorite Sibylla decks is called the Gypsy Sibylla. It's, you know, it's sort of ingrained in our nature, and we don't think about it. And I know I'm going to get comments saying, well, if, you know, if it's there and it wasn't meant, no one meant harm, then, you know, why do we have to think about this and why you're talking about this? And part of it is because nobody means harm. But that doesn't mean it doesn't cause it. You know, most people in life don't hurt people on purpose. It's not our nature. Most things that have happened in the history of the world were not necessarily intended to hurt people, although many things were. You know, they were meant for the betterment of a group. So I think it's problematic. I think it's worth getting that out of the way, though. I think I would really encourage anyone marketing decks now to be really thoughtful of that. And all of these words have baggage, all of them are loaded, and I think it's worth just knowing that. And I think it's important for us to examine how our biases affect our perceptions. We all have them, you know, and sometimes biases are good, right? They're what keep us from, like, getting mauled by a bear. We see a bear, we know it's dangerous, we're gonna not engage with it, right? So sometimes we need them. But things like the gypsy witch sort of trope has harmed people, and it definitely has harmed that community. And if you don't believe me, just Google Romney and France, and you can see some pretty horrific pictures. Anyway, that said, you know, can't divorce politics from it. This is a pretty universally maligned deck. And I think, you know, the reason why is mostly that it's ugly. You know, I mean, it's just sort of a weird color scheme. It's black, white, and orange, and red. And also the card correspondences, if you know this deck at all, don't really align to any previous system. Now, for me, that doesn't matter. I don't really care about that. I mean, in learning, I've learned that there are ways you can use the playing card insets on all of these systems to help make a reading clearer. But you know, when I was going to do my video on the pips, on Pixie's pips, on Pam's pips, I was going to include playing card associations too, but there are so many different systems that, you know, every region, every country, every neighborhood probably had their own version of things, so I didn't. And so, you know, those correspondences don't bug me much. In both Robert M. Place's and Ryan Edwards decks, they are consistent with Lenormand, if that matters to you. So here's this deck. This is one of the influences, though, and as you go through these 2 decks, you know, we have cards here, like the rapiers, the pig, the eye, let's see, a lot of the rose. Some of these are. The shepherd does not, I don't think, appear in these. We'll take a look. The Cupid card appears. The bride. You know, some of these are in these decks. So this was one of the influences on Ryan Edwards and Robert M. Place. The honor card. All of these are there. So it's, you know, and the reason I got it, I've actually had people ask me to do a video review of this deck in the past, and I never had it. I actually only really got it to make this video and to see it in person. I mean, I've been going to Salem since I was a kid, and basically all I knew about this deck was you see it in every shop, you know, every sort of supposedly New Age shop along the Rialto there. Comes with a little, literally a little white book. But I think you could use this just fine. You know, I think if you like this deck, and you don't mind the sort of really unattractive color scheme, it doesn't matter, you know what I mean? Actually Kelly Fitzgerald has a long video walkthrough of this and an example of using it, so you can check that out. And really the reason that it's here is to sort of look at it from the point of view of this, of, you know, just the context of these. So that's this deck, and then this is a sort of earlier predecessor. This is why I really made this video, is just to sort of talk about this in the context of these decks. But this is another sort of unfortunately named deck. This is from the 1940s. I don't know when this particular deck that I'm holding in my hands was printed, but the copyright on it is the 40s. I got this on eBay. It was, I think it was going for like $50. I offered 20 and got it. So it was sort of a weird instance. It's in really good shape aside from a tear in the box here. Now, there is another edition of this deck that I have seen that actually looks to be the inspiration for this box. So a longer... I don't know, I haven't researched too much if there was an expanded version of this or not, but I feel like this beautiful box may have been inspired by a different printing of this. But this is really just a curiosity, and I'm sort of, you know, this is the collector in me. I'm going to sneeze, excuse me. Ooh. This is really the collector in me sort of geeking out here, but it really is in good shape, and it comes with a little fold-out, little white book. This is the predecessor of the little white book, and it talks about what the cards mean and how to read with them. And it's sort of it's sort of like Lenormand-esque, but it does not have card insets, and it's only 36 cards, but the 36 cards are not the 36 that we know necessarily, and the ones that are not in the order. So I'll just walk through it really quick because it's only 36 cards. There's the sun. These are in really good shape, and it's a you know, it's an interesting cardstock because it's, you know, it's not laminated. It's really just a very thick paper. Here's the moon. This must have been not very expensive. Is there a price on it? When it came out? No. The house. So these are in order of this deck, but obviously not in order. The keys, the sick person, the flowers, the scythe, the pig, the fox, the children, the snake, the rider, the letter. So in a lot of ways, this is kind of like Lenormand meets Sibylla, abbreviated, meets other things. The Queen and the King are two cards here. We have the lilies, the stork, the ring, clasped hands, the clouds, the dog, the anchor. This is an interesting association with the anchor because I think a lot of folks who read Lenormand read the anchor as work. But actually the anchor has a long association as a symbol of hope. And you can see that in Sibylla, and you can see it here. The mice. Here's an interesting little detail too, is that you have a little inset of a guy running away with like a bag. So definitely thievery involved there. The switch. The cloverleaf. The star, the cats, there's more than one, the sword, the flames, the heart, the cupid, lightning, broken mirror, the train, the bride. There's no groom, but there's a bride, and then the safe. So many of these are not Lenormand, many of them are. Some of them are very much the same as the Gypsy Witch deck, but there's a lot of differences. But these two were the inspiration for this deck. This other one is just a curiosity that I got. I think I got this, I don't remember if I got this on Amazon or if I got it on Tarot BG. It's a Piatnik deck. This is the Gypsy fortune-telling cards again. See, the associations we have with Romani people in that way is pervasive. So this is a very similar deck to those. So this one has constancy, fidelity. This is a lot like Sibylla in many ways. Message, unexpected joy, visit, jealousy, loss, ecclesiastic, thief, as you can see, some money, hope, desire. Oh, here's an example, right? She's got an anchor. So anchors traditionally, historically, have been associated with hope. Desire, money, marriage, fortune, sweetheart, enemy, merriment, sadness, thought. So this is very much like Sibylla, if you know those cards. I didn't bring any out, but judge, misfortune, letter, gift, love, house, death, malady, officer, widow, journey, lover, baby, anger, falseness, often associated with cats, and widower. So this is just a curiosity I brought out because I was talking about fortune decks. I don't think I've ever used this. I just got it because it was available. And as I've said, I have a couple Sibylla decks that I really like, but I've been longing for sort of a new one. So these are just why I brought out the video, or why I brought these out, was to make this video, is just to show these and show some similarities. But let's just sort of look quickly. This is not in any particular order, I don't think. So this is the Robert M. Place deck. Also comes with a little booklet. There's just a couple jokers. And what this deck does, if you haven't seen it before, and probably you have, it's not new, is that it prefers the playing card and uses the Lenormand associations, or the fortune-telling associations, in the as an inset. So, for example, here's the Jack of Clubs, and you can see there's the broom, the whip there. But these are very similar to the Ryan Edwards deck. It's just a different style. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, the associations are pretty similar. There are some differences, like the bee, for example, is not a card that's in that deck. But they are very similar and could be used in the same way. And if you're a Robert M. Place fan, you probably know this, but it's a really fun deck, and I like it a lot. And like either of them, you can remove the cards that are quote extra if you don't want to use a larger deck. But I don't see any reason why you wouldn't. One of the things that I've been taking away from this class is the the lack of pretension around. That's such a loaded word. There's a freedom of working that I respond to with Camellia Elisa's classes. So this is in order of Lenormand. This actually is in order. So you get the first set, which is the traditional cards, all the way through the cross. But then you get these extra cards. So the pig, the lion, clasped hands, the rose, Bacchus, the rapiers, the cat, the Medal of Honor, sickness, malady, the eye, the hearth, Cupid, lightning, broken mirror, train, and safe. So you can see the connection between all these. So this is really just a little sort of look-see at these little interesting sets of cards. It's an interesting thing, I think, because all of these systems sort of evolved around games and marketing and, traditions and local methods, etc. And, I sometimes find myself getting wrapped up in, especially when it comes to Lenormand, about doing it the right way. It has to be the right way. But I don't think there is a right way. I think, I agree with the adage, you have to learn the rules before you break them. But I think the rules are subjective too. I don't necessarily think that just because we are taught something has to be one way, it has to be that way. And that's something that I really respond to about Camellia Elisa's classes, is that she's very much, I don't want to give away the store. I think if you're interested in her class, you really should take it. It's not super expensive. She offers it online. They're all recorded, so you don't have to be in the right time zone. But she really emphasizes functional structure of each thing, rather than relying on any one person's perception of what things are symbolically supposed to mean, which I think is really cool. But anyway, this has just been another video just to sort of show these decks. So yeah, just to recap, this deck is out of print, long out of print, I think, but I've seen many copies of it on eBay. This is still in print, but I don't know. I think I had to get this from Tarot BG, which is an international dealer. I don't know if I got this on Amazon. This deck you can get anywhere, and then the Maybe Lenormand you can get anywhere, and the Robert M. Place deck you can get on his website. So, hope this is interesting. Thought it was fun. Be good.